know that sinking feeling when you check the roster for day 2 and see a name missing, and you just know that person is never coming back? No call, no text, just gone. And the worst part is, nobody really knows why.
Yeah, and then everyone starts guessing. Was the work too fast? Was the supervisor rough? Was it the schedule, the commute, the pay? Meanwhile, you're scrambling for a backfill and the line is short again.
That right there is what we're talking about today on Workers.com Staffing Pulse. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Sam. This show is all about insights from the front line of staffing and recruiting, especially in industrial and light industrial work.
Today's topic is one of those quiet superpowers that almost nobody is using well. What workers really say after the shift, and how to turn that feedback into fixes fast. Not 6 months from now, fast.
If you're an employer or a staffing pro, this is about building simple feedback loops so you actually know why people stay or leave. And if you're a job seeker, this is about giving feedback that doesn't burn bridges, actually opens better doors for you, and helps your recruiter fight for you.
Let's go back to that disappearing worker for a second, because that's the real cost of missing feedback. You lose a body on the floor, sure, but you also lose the story. Maybe that site skipped half the safety training. Maybe the lead was yelling. Maybe the pace was fine, but the schedule killed childcare. You don't know. So the same thing happens again next week with someone else.
And on the worker side, they lose too. Because instead of saying, hey, this specific site just isn't a fit for me because of the pace or the environment, they just vanish. Now the agency thinks they're unreliable, the candidate misses out on better fit assignments, and that supervisor never hears there's an issue they could actually fix.
So let's name the problem. There's this big feedback gap in industrial and light industrial operations. Tons of valuable insight is floating around in side conversations and parking lot chats, but it never makes its way into a clean, usable form.
Exactly. In a warehouse or plant, everybody's busy. Supervisors are trying to hit numbers. Leads are juggling questions. Coordinators are covering call-offs. There is not a lot of time for long surveys or formal debriefs.
And when feedback does happen, it's often really vague. You get things like, yeah, it was fine, or I didn't like it, or they weren't a fit. That doesn't tell anyone what actually went wrong or what went right.
Plus, let's be honest, there's some fear on both sides. Supervisors worry that if they speak up about a site issue, it sounds like they can't manage their team. Workers worry that if they're too honest, they'll get labeled as a complainer and won't get future shifts.
So the easy path is silence or gossip, and gossip doesn't fix staffing. Structured feedback does. But, and this is critical, it has to be ultra lightweight. If it feels like another giant form or a big meeting, people just won't use it.
That's why we're going to walk through 3 simple feedback checkpoints you can build into your process. Right after the first shift, end of week 1, and end of assignment. These are small moments that give you huge signal if you handle them right.
Let's start with the first checkpoint, right after that first shift. This is the most critical window. If someone is going to bail, a lot of times it's after day 1.
For employers and staffing pros, your goal here is not a performance review. It's a quick temperature check. Think 5 minutes, maybe even 2.
You want to hit questions like, did you feel safe? Did you understand what was expected of you? Was there someone you could go to with questions? And overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel coming back tomorrow?
That last question is big. Because if someone says, honestly, I'm at a 2, you've got a chance to save the situation. Maybe you clarify something. Maybe you move them to a different area. Maybe you realize they're just not comfortable with the machinery and you switch the assignment. But you only get that shot if you ask.
Then we hit checkpoint 2, end of week 1. By this point, the newness has worn off. People have seen a real week. Different supervisors, different tasks, maybe a schedule change.
Here, you want to dig a little deeper into fit. You might ask, how's the pace? Too fast, too slow, or about right? How's the supervision style? Supportive, hands-off, or kinda rough? Does the schedule still work with your life?
And for supervisors or site contacts, same idea. Quick questions like, are the workers coming in from our agency getting the training they need? Are there recurring questions or mistakes that tell you the onboarding isn't clear? Anything about the shift structure that's causing frustration?
Then, checkpoint 3, end of assignment. This is where you capture the bigger lessons. Why did someone stay? Why did they leave? Would you send them back to that site? And would they want to go?
For employers, you can keep it simple. Would you rehire this worker? And if yes, what made them effective here? If no, what was missing? Was it attendance, pace, attitude, or something about the match?
And for workers, the question becomes, would you go back to this site? If you had to explain why or why not in 1 or 2 sentences, what would you say?
Now, if you're hearing all this and thinking, okay, this sounds great, but I don't have time for a 30-question survey, you are absolutely right. You don't, and you shouldn't.
So let's talk about a fast, practical feedback tool you can actually use. Think of it like a scorecard with maybe 5 to 7 items. That's it.
Here's a basic version you can start with, whether you're a staffing agency, an on-site coordinator, or even a shift supervisor. For workers, rate each on a 1 to 5 scale. 1. Safety. Did you feel physically safe and properly trained for the tasks you did? 2. Clarity. Did you understand your job duties, where to go, and who to report to? 3. Supervision. Was there someone available and willing to help when you had questions? 4. Pace. Was the workload realistic for one person, or did it feel unmanageable? 5. Schedule fit. Does the shift time and length work with your life outside of work?
You can add 1 or 2 more if you want, like respect. Did you feel respected by supervisors and coworkers? And maybe overall, on a 1 to 5, how likely are you to come back tomorrow or accept another assignment at this site?
For supervisors, you mirror the idea with their own mini scorecard. Did the worker arrive on time? Did they follow safety guidance? Did they ask questions when unsure? Was their pace appropriate? Would you request them again?
And the magic here is not the numbers themselves. It's the patterns. One worker giving a site a 2 for clarity might just be a mismatch. 10 workers giving that same site a 2 for clarity, that's an onboarding problem.
Now let's switch gears and talk directly to the job seekers for a moment. Because feedback is a two-way street, and how you give it can quietly build your reputation.
Yeah, if you're listening and you're working warehouse, manufacturing, skilled trades, your feedback after a shift actually matters a lot. It can be the difference between getting labeled as no-show or getting flagged as, hey, this person communicates well, find them a better fit site.
The key is to be honest but professional. Instead of saying, that place is terrible, I'm never going back, try something like, the pace on this line is a little too fast for me right now, and I'm worried about making mistakes. I'd feel more comfortable in a role with a steadier pace or more training.
Or, if the issue is schedule, don't just disappear. Say, the overnight schedule is clashing with my childcare situation. Day or swing shifts work much better for me. Can we look for something like that? Now your recruiter has something concrete to work with.
If you do run into a real problem on site, maybe a supervisor raised their voice or training was skipped, you can still be specific without attacking. For example, on my first day, I didn't receive the full safety walkthrough on the equipment, and I felt uncomfortable. I want to make sure I'm in a place where training is consistent.
Notice what Jennifer is doing there. She's describing the behavior and the impact, not name-calling. That protects your reputation, and it makes it much easier for your recruiter or account manager to raise the issue with the client in a constructive way.
And one more tip for job seekers: close the loop. If you decide you won't return to a site, send that quick text or make that short call to your recruiter. Something like, this site isn't a fit for me because of X, but I'm definitely interested in other assignments. Please keep me in mind. That one sentence can save your relationship with the agency.
Okay, let's zoom back out to the system level. You've got your 3 checkpoints. You've got your 5 to 7 question scorecard. The real value comes when you turn that feedback into action.
Exactly. Start looking for patterns. Maybe you see one particular shift where workers keep giving low scores on supervision. That's a flag to coach that lead or to adjust how questions get handled on that shift.
Or you notice that across 3 different sites, new workers are saying they're not clear on break schedules or PPE rules. That's not a worker problem, that's an onboarding problem. You might update your day 1 checklist or add a simple 1-page handout that every new hire gets.
You can also use these patterns to refine your job design. If you keep hearing, the first week is overwhelming, maybe you slow down how many tasks you introduce. If you keep hearing, the schedule change was tough, maybe you give more notice or rotate people differently.
And from a staffing agency perspective, that data becomes gold. You start to know which sites are best for brand new workers, which ones are great for experienced, high-paced talent, and which supervisors really grow people. Now you're not just filling orders, you're making smart matches.
And this is where you also build trust with clients. You're not coming to them with vague complaints. You're saying, over the last month, 7 workers rated clarity at a 2 out of 5 on the first day. Here are a couple of quotes. Let's tweak your day 1 process. That's constructive. That's partnership.
And on the worker side, you can even feed back some wins. Hey, we've had 3 people say they feel especially supported by your line lead on B shift. That kind of positive feedback can reinforce the behaviors you want more of.
So as we start to wrap up, let's leave you with a couple of clear action steps you can take today.
If you're an employer or a staffing pro, here's one new question you can add this week. Call or text your new starters after their first shift and ask, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel coming back tomorrow, and what would make that number higher? That one question opens up the real story.
And if you're a job seeker, here's one simple feedback habit you can start today. Whenever you decide a site is not a fit, send a quick, professional message to your recruiter explaining why in 1 or 2 sentences, and clearly say you're still interested in other assignments. That habit alone can protect your reputation and help you land better matches.
Remember, feedback doesn't have to be heavy or complicated. Short, honest, structured check-ins right after the first shift, at the end of week 1, and at the end of each assignment can quietly transform your staffing outcomes.
Thanks for spending a few minutes with us on Workers.com Staffing Pulse, Insights from the Frontline.
Keep listening, keep learning, and keep those feedback loops open.
Let's dive in again next time. Until then, take care.